lucha-masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly. Hello and welcome to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week, our team discusses news and events from this past week and preview what's to come. We cover news from AAA, CMLL, and top Mexico-based independent wrestling promotions, along with luchador-related news from WWE, AEW, MLW, Ring of Honor, Impact, and more. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast and others from the podcast network are available on luchacentral.com and major podcast platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, Podbay, Speaker. You name it, it is on. I am Miranda Morales, one of the Lucha Podcast team. And, well, yeah, I said team because it's not just me talking for 2 hours. You would not want that, trust me. I have two amazing co-hosts, and we all together host show. So I'm going to be bringing in Dashing Dusty Murphy, one of the co-hosts of this show. Dusty, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Miranda. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I don't know if I revealed too much behind the curtain saying tonight, though no one knows which tonight it means, or I could have been, saying tonight of any day of the week, but who knows, mysterious. And our other co-host is who? Who is it? It is none other than Brendan Barr.
Hey, how we doing?
Tonight. Yes, tonight.
Don't get me singing. Nobody that's listening.
Oh, what? Is that a hidden talent? Do you have
it is the opposite of a talent.
An obvious talent?
That's true. It's the opposite.
That's okay. No, it is not an obvious talent either. I am not the person that everybody gets excited for when I go to the karaoke.
But you do go to the karaoke. Is that what I'm led to believe?
I have been known to go to the karaoke machine now and again.
All right. So this is our banter topic of tonight. The hands are rubbing together. So if all three of us went to karaoke, and we each had to pick a song to sing, what song would you pick?
My go-to at karaoke is always Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon. Because nobody else ever picks Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon. I'm always the only one.
Deep cut. I've won a lot of music trivia events by knowing who Warren Zevon is. So
I love Zevon. Big fan.
I would probably try and join.
That'd be awesome. You could do the Halloos. You could be the werewolves.
Oh.
See, you passed the audition already.
Woo! Oh my gosh! Now we just need to find a karaoke bar. I'm already excited. I would be howling at that part. For me, I am very much an 80s nerd. I have to admit, when this song comes on, I always sing along, and it's Out of Touch by Hall & Oates.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yes, it's just one of my favorite songs. I have multiple Hall & Oates songs that are my favorite, but when I think about one that's really upbeat and just makes me, I will sing this in my car. I'll sing this wherever I hear it. Yes, Out of Touch by Hall & Oates.
I'm all about the 80s stuff. That's where I would be too. The last time I did Lean on Me with one of my friends, the lean on me when you're not strong. Yeah, so good.
That's such a good song. Yeah, especially when you're with friends, like, and
Right?
then people join in with you. Is that the point too? Like, I'm not gonna be here long. People are just gonna come up and sing it with me.
Hopefully that's how it goes when we start that.
Well, man, that's, again, I mean, we are still living in a time where, we're in the middle of a pandemic still, after, many weeks, but hopefully one of these days, if life allows it, we will all end up in the same karaoke bar, picking our songs and either howling together or swaying together to sing Lean On Me. You guys can just see all my cool moves as I sing Hall & Oates. You guys can dance 80s dances with me.
I'll dig deep in the 80s selection for you too. We can do lots of 80s stuff. That's my wheelhouse.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Well, this is not a podcast about karaoke or music. If that's the case, I'm fortunate. But you should stick around because, again, this is a podcast on the world of Lucha Libre. And we start off every show, we have been pretty much every show, discussing the road back to the show. And Brendan has...
okay. So previous weeks I started with a bunch of really good news, and I made everything sound really positive, and then I'd find the tiny little notes where we start off with some negatives. But the major news on the road back to shows in both Lucha Libre and the general world is the WWE having several tests finally. Once they finally started testing, they had a number of people turn up positive for tests for COVID-19. Mm-hmm. And so we've got kind of little ripples happening from that. Even the rival company AEW was impacted because one of the few people that has named themselves as someone who's tested positive for COVID in the WWE organization was Jon Moxley's wife, Renee Young. So he has been quarantined because he has positive contact with someone. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they react to this, because they are the kind of the trailblazers and pace setters for this. A lot of these empty arena shows that have been happening and other things have been because people have seen WWE doing content and they feel like they can at least match some of the steps that are being done. One of the things that seems a little more unfortunate on this is that the people that were maybe mimicking those steps and not taking the tests, are they now going to wind up doing tests and finding a number of more people have been exposed that they were unaware of either? Because 20 people doesn't seem like a big deal, but somebody today was doing a very easy theoretical thread where Seth Rollins to Becky Lynch was on potentially being exposed. Maternity leave. I should finish my thoughts there. So do we have that problem other places where the unexpected consequences of the way this can be passed and transmitted happens? Yeah, so there's our lovely, exciting starting on that. And I'm going to transition easily. We have even more setback for Lucha shows because Mexico had a giant 7.4 earthquake on the southern coast. Miranda, did you read that story? Because I don't want to say the names of these states if you actually can say them for me.
Well, it's the southern coast of Oaxaca state, I believe.
Thank you. Yeah. And then, but there have been a rise in it, so we're back on the kind of a good news thing. There are smaller areas like Torreon and Jalpa, I believe, had shows this weekend in addition to the Chaos in Monterrey that we will be talking about in the Indie Roundup. And let's see, IWRG has the punishment has been handed out. They are unable to have any sort of sanctioning for shows during the remainder of the COVID period for however long that'll be. But no wrestlers have been punished. The doctor that was supposedly at the shows is the only individual I could find that has been directly punished, and that is because that doctor led people at the show to believe that they could be more sanctioned than they were, even though that doctor was not authorized to be COVID-ready doctor at an arena show. And then the last thing is New Japan is still pushing forward with their New Japan Cup, which I'm sure Dusty knows more on the results, but I have second round matchups that'll be interesting for Lucha fans, which we have Toru Yano versus Hiromu Takahashi, Hiroki Goto versus Evil, and Yoshihashi versus Bushi. Those are all between either Lucha influences or Ingo Bernables direct performers. Those are all ones that will be very interesting to fans.
Yeah, those should be some great matches.
Yes, and so with the road back to shows, you mentioned a little bit about the Chaos show that happened, the second part of the Chaos show that happened this week. Let's, head into the Indie Roundup, the Mexico Indie Roundup, because there was a few shows also that happened this week. But for sure, we were left on kind of a cliffhanger last week with the Chaos show that most fans had no idea was going to be a two-parter.
Yeah, so that's the good news going forward is they are going to be doing more shows, but they're being upfront about it now, where if you pay your 100 pesos, you will get to both episodes of the show, and they're telling you up front there will be shows. So there will be future shows that I will probably get, because 100 pesos is not too expensive for me to just grab a show, and an hour on a Sunday isn't hard for me to clear out. Mm-hmm. But for this show, we picked up where we left off, which was with the promotion for Galeno del Mal and Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Fresario and Mr. 450. I unfortunately had some technical difficulties on that particular match, but I did see the finish. I saw Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. and Galeno del Mal get a fairly good-looking finish. It's the other team. They had a fairly good back and forth, it looked like, going on, and it was a younger men's sort of tag team match. There was a lot of brawling, but there was also more jumps and dives, that sort of thing that usually gets a crowd excited, which is still very surreal to watch in a mostly empty arena. And then we had Ioka Hamada and El Divo versus Baby Love and Dark Cuervo in a mixed pairs title match. And Hamada and Devo, terrible on these names tonight, I apologize, came out on top on that one. Again, I was excited for this one because I haven't seen Hamada wrestling in a while, and Mexico seems to be one of the only places she's able to work these days, either through intention or through circumstance. I'm not sure. So it was nice to see that. A little more in the ring and a little less brawling on this one than the last match, but that does not make it any less good. Baby Love was wrestling in her second match of this card, so it was interesting that they used so many people in this from the local area in matches and then move them around the card like this. But once again, that was Hamada and Devo on top. And then you had the main event, which is the one that definitely got me to buy this particular paper. It had Dr. Wagner Jr., Blue Demon Jr., and Daga, a three-way match. I will tell you. It
sounded exciting.
It sure
on paper.
Sure did sound exciting. I think I'm just going to give you the result first. Dr. Wagner wins. You have. I was watching this the whole time thinking, oh, maybe Daga is going to win, because from the moment the bell rings, two older legends start double teaming him. And so he spent most of the match kind of working from underneath, where he's constantly the moment he starts to get any offense, one of the two of them is ready to cut him off. The two, Wagner and Blue Demon, spend very little time working against each other, fighting against each other at all, which is interesting because this is definitely a AAA sponsored product. So you would think that there would be a hammer at ringside or something, but saw very little of that. Well, I mean, the cookie sheet is a traditional thing, but the hammer is very specific to the two of them feuding. They've both had hammers for various matches to various effect. All in all, it was not because of the way that it was working, where you had the two legends kind of lightly brawling with just Daga for most of it. I mean, a little bit with each other near the end, where Blue Demon got taken out for long enough for Dr. Wagner to do a decent cover. I don't know. It was a very odd main event for what was supposed to be the 2-year anniversary. On paper, it was a great main event for the 2-year anniversary, but the way that it played out, it was very anticlimactic and didn't really make me feel like I had gotten a great series of matches out of something that should have been a little more explosive and built.
Mm-hmm. And it was noted that there was no apuestas matches anywhere on this card. Is that correct?
True. There was no pointed an apuestas match or any sort of like more emotionally built match where people were settling a feud that had happened over the course of the last 2 years or any of that sort of thing. So again, for a bigger show, there was not that bigger emotional impact of matches at all. It does look like they're setting something up, but which was apparently all taped at the same time. What we'll be getting over these subsequent weekend pay-per-views, but at this point we have not had an apuestas match.
Wow. And do you think it's just due to the fact that they've been just not active for a few months, and so it was hard to maybe pick things back up, that they just needed to just run a show or two before getting back into more storyline related matches?
I mean, that is as good a guess as any. I think since they seem to be building to one, it does feel like whoever was in the writings, it's unclear to me now whether this is, there's been rumors that Conan has been involved in the booking or will be in the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, to have that kind of genius and talent behind it's going to be a big deal. Mm-hmm. These were empty arena matches, right?
The general presence was more like the AAA tournament series, where you had kind of the black curtains and the guys in the full-on disinfectant clothes, and there were some cameramen that weren't wearing masks, and there were a few more people around than there were in those, but it was largely in it.
I wonder if part of the hesitance to hold an apuestas match has something to do with that reluctance to hold it in an empty arena, just because apuestas matches bring in a lot of money. You know, like they're ticket sellers.
It's possible as well. That's kind of where for Miranda's question and yours, it feels like that what they might be doing is they might be trying to build up to it so that there's more emotional investment in that apuestas match, and therefore more people willing to put their 100 pesos down for that match in a couple of weeks, even though it won't be on the technical second anniversary show. So if that is what the booking is doing, that would be a fairly strong choice.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Be a nice way to build it up and get people interested in the pay-per-views too, or the at least paid shows, whatever they are.
They're going to be technically they're pay-per-views, and you're using our ticketing system for ordering instead of like the cable company. So
right,
it's very unusual. But I mean, I know that because I'm using their ticketing system, that it's probably mostly going to the wrestling company, and hopefully that means that the wrestlers see some of that money since they've already worked.
Yes, yeah, that would be amazing. I'm surprised more luchadors don't offer their PayPal information, so that you can just kind of make a donation if you watch the match and like it. I mean,
it's like throwing money in the ring.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people would be happy to do that right now, especially with something like 100 peso buy-in, which is only like $5. And I would do that for sure. And so I know there has to be other people out there that. Sorry, Miranda, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I thought it was a good idea, and I didn't know if it was anything to do with the promotions that do them. I know when I was watching one of the shows, I know Brendan will talk about shortly, I think people were doing donations, but it was through the promotion directly. So I don't know if they even allow or how that works out. Whether luchadors have to go on their own social media to promote that, or maybe promotions frown upon it because they want that money to go directly to them. But that's just something that made me think. I mean, I think it's a good idea, and exactly what you're saying. It's just almost the same thing that they would do in the ring, just social distancing.
Yep, I think it's the better way to do it, even during live performances in the future, because throwing coins into the ring is hard, and sometimes the bills don't make it all the way to the ring. It's just although there is something to be said for seeing three to seven people getting showered in money. It's a very exciting thing the first time you see it.
Oh, it really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it probably still will come back in some way. I think it's just so much easier, and I think it goes back to just the point of donations. Anyone, when you're giving money, it's a lot easier to have the action of pulling out your wallet and sharing money than going on an app and doing a PayPal or something like that. So I feel like people are still more likely to give if they are able to do it in person. But I do think it's smarter for luchadors to explore different ways, especially, if whatever they're doing is being streamed online, if there's ways that they can, reach out to fans and give that avenue to them for them to donate.
Yeah, I think that the more avenues is better at all times, and hopefully we'll get back to shows as normal so that we can have that kind of performance aspect to it as well. So the show you were alluding to, I'm assuming, was the Vanguardia show that was also on Saturday, on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah. They did have at all times. I was very aware that there were ways for me to donate money. Even with my limited Spanish, I could see that Drastic Boy had a PayPal account that I could donate to. They encouraged me to use the YouTube Super Chat, and would actually in the stream show money when it came through on the stream. That's
what I was watching. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Did you see that the Lucha Central Network logo pop up one? Because I did donate some money.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I did not, but that was very cool. I speaking of technical difficulties, that was a show I had some trouble watching consistently. I was on my phone trying to watch it, and I know that both of us had some challenges in the beginning. I think they had some problems with the initial streaming, so they kept having a countdown, and then they would run a video, and then they would do a countdown again, and then it just ended up cutting straight into a match. So I don't know if that was anyone else's experience, but I believe Brendan and I had that experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got. Mm-hmm. I missed a good portion of that first match because of the way it just kept restarting, and by the time I reloaded to actually get in and watch it, I had already missed quite a bit of it.
That was a problem I had, too. I tried to watch it on my Roku on TV, and it just would never load up enough. Like, I'd see the countdown, and then it'd freeze. And then I'd try to go back and restart it, and it just was not working through the Roku.
I can't even imagine that frustration on a Roku.
Yeah.
It's bad enough with if I've got a device that I can't, yell at directly, then I'm lost for what to do.
Yeah, after about 10 minutes, I just gave up and figured I'd catch it later when it re-aired at some point online and catch it YouTube, and I just haven't caught up with it yet, but it's one I definitely want to see.
Well, we'll get back to that. My opinion on that. I'll do the rundown of what happened. So if you don't want to be spoiled, Dusty, the time to go to the kitchen
cool
and get a drink.
I've seen the results online already.
Weird. You disconnected from the show and then just came back and be like, okay, I'm back, you guys.
The first match was a tag team match. We had Jitsu and Kune against Sagittario and Suspenso. It was all of these matches are going to be younger guys that are doing they're trying very hard to engage a crowd that's not, and everybody has different varying effect on it. This was a good guys versus bad guys match. And, the bad guys, near as I could tell, the bad guys are the ones that came out on top of that, Jitsu and Kune, who are part of a faction whose name I could never actually make out because the way the announcer said it did not make any sense to me. And Miranda, did you catch the faction name? They popped up all night long.
No, I'll have to actually reread it. I'll have to look it up and try it and pronounce it.
It's like Odiaba or something.
Odiaba?
Yeah.
I don't know. My Puerto Rican accent actually helps it at all. So, I don't know if I'm doing it any more justice. So,
then we can all be slightly off on this one, and it's fine. But that faction is the story of the show. They are involved in a good amount of it. So then the next one is you have it was like a title match. It was originally a 3-way with Drastic Boy, Lobo Blanco, and Falcon Fire. Then AAA performer who I haven't seen on AAA in a while, Mascara de Bronce, just showed up and said, "Let's make this a 4-way." And so they did, and you got an exciting match out of it. I mean, for those of you who've seen Mascara de Bronce work before, it was 3 other guys that were working the same kind of style. They all wanted to high-flying acrobatic movement and lots of dives and top rope spots, and to varying degrees, it all worked. This was the match I was the happiest with and the most entertaining. Even more than the Invisible Man. I know there are some people out there that are going to be disappointed in that I didn't like the Invisible Man match more than theirs, but I really enjoyed what the effort they were putting in, and to a point that I was making offline. More people in this match were wearing wrestling gear, which for me is a personal thing that I really enjoy when the wrestlers put the effort in to have gear and wear it.
It's a professional touch.
It is. I mean, there are times and there are ways to do it. Like, obviously, you don't want to wear your wrestling gear if you're booked in a street fight or a death match. But when you're doing when the majority of your card are wearing tennis shoes and hoodies to the ring, it just really kind of automatically distracts me from enjoying the match as much as I could. Did you have any thoughts on this one, Miranda, or was there anything you did?
No, this one, it was throughout the night. I was having some problems with my personal connection, so I wasn't able to see as many matches as I had hoped to watch, other than just, being able to get in and watch clips and small aspects of it. It was just not a good streaming night for me in general.
That's fair. So Drastic Boy comes up to win on that. Then we had Ciclope versus Invisible Man. If the Invisible Man wrestle before, this was very different in a lot of ways because Ciclope and the referee were wearing visors at times to actually be able to see him, which I don't know how other people have wrestled him so well, if the problem is truly invisible to everyone.
The ref looked like he was trying to be Cyclops from the X-Men. Like
they very much looked like Cyclops visor.
Yeah, like that. I don't know. Just that was my take from that. It reminded me of the visor from Cyclops.
They very, very much did. At first, I thought because it was Ciclope that maybe that was a faction thing or some sort of unifying thing, but then it became clear that was so you could see the Invisible Man. And then the faction of Badness got involved, and they tried to give the Invisible Man the win, but his Ciclope's tag team partner, which I should have put on here, Mito Extremo, came out and helped reverse the situation, and then they literally exploded. But he did an interview afterwards, so I don't think he's completely blown up, although I couldn't see how severe his injury.
Well, I think he had a post-match interview that I understand.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. He did the interview afterwards, so he at least was able to, and he did it in English and in Spanish, so he is a true international star, but I have no idea to the extent of it. He was exploded in the middle of the and then you had a Royal Rumble where you had a bunch of guys. I started to write down the names of all the guys. They are available out there on the internet if you really need to know. But at the end of the day, Crazy King won the Royal Rumble. In fact, like a Royal Rumble where he now has a title shot for any title within the Vanguardia promotion he wants.
And it's very much aligned with the name of the show, which was Tierra de Oportunidades, the road of opportunity. So, I mean, that it actually flowed. I think a lot of the matches and the theme flowed really well altogether. It was kind of a pretty good, concise theme to me, which surprised me.
I did enjoy that. That is one thing I enjoyed, was every one of these matches felt like it was either an opportunity for people to step up and win a title, or that match was an opportunity for everyone, pretty much everyone that was involved in the show had their moment to try to win this opportunity. So I really enjoyed like you said, that kind of throughput, that storyline that everybody's getting an opportunity tonight, including in the last one. But the opportunity that was at stake here was more about, do you want to keep working this company? Because Ciclope was told that he needed to win both of his matches tonight. And while he did come out on top against the Invisible Man, he still had this tag team match he did not want to have his contract terminated. And so you had Ciclope and Miro Extremo against Gasparin Jr. and Simbolo Azteca. And I don't think that this one even really started as a strong tag team match. I think it pretty much just started as a Tornado Rules brawl, and then more people got involved. And okay. So Dusty, I know you said you've read the result, but I don't know if you're ready for this. But Ciclope got taken out at the end, and
I heard that. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Exactly.
And Santi Hernandez, I guess, it really kind of makes him a heel now. He works as a ref sometimes, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, for my with the feel of the wrestlers, maybe it was because it was cold that night, or maybe that's just the feel of Vanguardia. I'm not very sure. I did like that this was a very storyline driven, and it ends on a kind of a cliffhanger note of what's actually going to happen to Ciclope now, because obviously I'm not silly enough to think he's not going to try and show up at future shows, even his contract has been terminated. I don't know. All in all, it was a reasonable event. I don't even remember how much I paid for it, but I don't feel like I paid too much.
I think it was free. Just on the internet.
Oh, there we go.
It was a YouTube show. Yeah.
Oh, well, I paid for it. I put on, but
you did. Yeah, that's true. I forgot. You did. But you know what? Hey, they did. There were some great things about the show, so I felt like it was. Yeah. They earned it.
I'm not going to say I'm going to always drop money, but if I'm watching and I'm enjoying your product, and I have an option to give money to either a performer or the organization, I am going to do that. So I know I don't remember what I donated is what I'm saying, but I don't feel it was a bad donation.
Well, thank you, Brendan, for that indie roundup. And listeners, you can go to luchacentral.com. There, Lucha Central provides reviews and recaps of as many Lucha Libre events as they can, especially if they are streamed online. And of course, the big ones, the ones that we see every week, but they do a fantastic job of covering independent wrestling in Mexico as well. So we're actually going into moving back into the big leagues, some people would say. However, we are going to be revisiting a topic that we touched on last, and we touched on it because we knew, there's a lot more to this topic than meets the eye. And you know what? We realized we have an expert on this that we wanted to bring in. So last week we talked about Vince, allegedly, we don't know this entirely for sure, but Vince McMahon made some comment regarding Angel Garza and that he viewed him as a young Eddie Guerrero. So Brendan especially, he did some connections, and this is also someone who's associated with the Lucha Central podcast team and luchacentral.com. But we have a special guest, someone you can say who is an Angel Garza expert. He is a wrestling photographer who has shot for for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, covering WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, and he's also shot ringside and portraits for Ring of Honor, Evolve, Lucha Libre, Crash. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jerry Villagrana. Jerry, how are you?
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm great.
Good.
How are you?
Thanks for coming on.
Yes.
It's my pleasure. It's always good to talk to you.
It's a good day to talk lucha. So, yes, we brought you in for your expertise regarding Angel Garza. You've spent many years just being able to watch his career, photographing him. You've spent time in Mexico. So when this story came out about Vince McMahon viewing Angel Garza as this possible next Eddie Guerrero, what came across your mind?
Yeah, it's funny because I was listening to another show on the network, and they were comparing Angel Garza to Alberto Del Rio, because that's what everybody tends to do. Because in Mexico, Alberto Del Rio was kind of like the last big hero, and in my head, and actually in the chat, I was like, no, like you guys, it's got to be Eddie, if anybody, because of the charisma, right? And they have similar backgrounds. I think that the biggest striking comparison is the fact that both of them didn't lose their mask. They both had a mask at one point, and they both didn't lose it. They self-deemed it nope, no one's gonna earn my mask. I do want to unmask. However, I am not going to let any wrestler have that over me. That
and they turned down a big payday doing that too, right? Mask matches are huge paydays.
Right, and they can do that because both of them came from a very important both of them came from the most important wrestling family in their major wrestling town. So Eddie Guerrero being from also my hometown of El Paso, Texas. Shout out to El Paso, Texas. His family ran the shows out of the El Paso Coliseum and also ran shows in Ciudad Juarez. And so there was no question that he had an end to the business, and he knew that if he worked hard, there'd be a future for him in the business. And I think similarly, Angel Garza, with his grandfather, being in the business and his family being, the big stars of Monterrey, another lucha town, they had that. They had that kind of patience, you could say. And that it wasn't just this dream, and they had to sell their soul to the first guy to come and offer them a spot on a card. It was take care of, do it the right way. Take care of yourself, the school, be a little well-rounded, not just jump on the first mask that gets thrown your way, or, jump on the first, deal that they throw at you.
Yeah. Could you kind of tell us
Go ahead, Dusty.
Could you kind of tell us the story of how Garza came to lose his mask? It was on a TV show, right?
Yeah. So what happened was, it's funny because when I got to Mexico in 2015, I was going to my first lucha show, and the guy in the taxi, he's like, "Oh, are you going to a lucha show? Oh, is this guy wrestling?" And I did not. I wasn't from Monterrey, and he was very much local at the time. I didn't know who that guy was because he was Hijo del Ninja. He wasn't even like a Garza. I would have recognized the Garza name because of Hector, but being Hijo del Ninja, I didn't recognize who the guy was talking about. And he's like, "Is he gonna wrestle?" And I said, "I don't think so. I don't know." And he's like, "Oh, it's because that guy." And then he tells me the story. So before I ever saw any wrestling in Monterrey, the taxi driver, who wasn't really a lucha fan, told me the story. And it was about this wrestler, this young kid, whose family had been in, and he had been on this reality show. And it was basically like The Bachelor, where he goes and he's gonna marry this girl. There's different contestants in the day. I believe he picks a girl, but he's wearing a mask. So how are you gonna marry somebody if they have a mask on? So he agreed as part of the show that if he, that once he picked a girl and they were going to get married or whatever, that he would unmask for the reality show. And so there's a clip on YouTube where you can see it, and his grandpa's out there, kind of like you would see in a wrestling match if he lost it to Wagner or to somebody else. Usually they have somebody out there, right, to do the honors, and he had his grandfather out there, except instead of a lucha show, it was like a late night comedy kind of imagine like a Jimmy Fallon type of show. And he took it off for the girl, and the girl, of course, freaked out because of how handsome he was. The rest was history.
So cool. It's such an unusual way, too. I mean, it's very uncommon to kind of self-remove the mask, right? Like, Garza and Eddie are just a couple of the, like it's not very common. They're the only ones that are super well known, right?
Yeah, no, it's not very common, and I think it does take, like I was mentioning, the fact that they didn't need to jump on the first big payday, or they had the charisma, then they could sell with their face. They knew the importance of that. It wasn't a thing where, like an iconic mask will get you booked in a sense, right? And an iconic mask will give you a long career. Because, for as long as you live, if you have a mask on, you're that guy, and you don't age because the mask doesn't age. So it's a little bit of a risk. But certain people, like Conan was worried, they knew that they could go without them. They knew they could. But yeah, definitely it's not very common at all. And it was a big risk, and it like backfired. It definitely backfired in sense of the hometown, not the hometown, but like diehard lucha fans. Because there was a lot of people who, to this day, they didn't like it, and they just called him a clown because he was on TV all the time. But he got to learn this whole side of the business that he would not have learned if he had not been working with that with Multimedios, the TV station down there. So where everybody was criticizing him for breaking with tradition, he actually got to learn how to be on camera, how to maybe read off a script, make some comedy angle, how to work with. So he was getting a whole other side of he was getting like a lesson in a whole different side of that other wrestlers not be exposed to, might have a chance to. And I think that's really paying off dividends now that he's on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. So like the struggle, it seems like in the WWE with most luchadors is that they can perform in a ring really well, but they don't seem to be able to catch up as fast as other performers on the mic spots. And that's never been a struggle that I expected for Garza. So it's definitely interesting to hear that that's part of the background. So how old was he when he was doing this?
He would have been, so he was born in 90, so he's 27 now. This would have been like 5 years ago. So he would have been like 22.
So he's learning to do valuable skills that you can use for the entire rest of your career. Well, he's in his early 20s. I mean, I recognize he probably started performing around 16, but that's amazing skills that he has moving forward.
Yeah, and while he may have had a lot of angry guys, angry at him breaking with a lucha tradition, he got a lot of their girlfriends to be his Instagram followers, and he ended up with a huge following on social media. And so he had a bigger following than anybody. He had a bigger. So it was like, okay, you can not like what I did, and you can not book me, or you can book me, and I'll promote your show on my Instagram page, and I've got more followers on my page than everyone else on the card combined.
Butts and seats, if you got that, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
then the girls bring the guys. The girls want to go and see him, and then the guys want to go see the girls, and so it brings a big crowd.
Miranda,
when I was down there, the first couple of times I shot him, he was a babyface, and I was like, "What are they doing? Like this guy, all the guys want to boo him, and all the girls love him.
Ladies love
how
him.
Is this guy? Yeah, like how is this guy not like your Shawn Michaels? Like you can see how he could be like the smart, he's got the smart, like what he's doing on TV now. Like what are they doing with it? Like it's crazy, So sure enough, once they did that, once they turned him heel, it was great. It was perfect. It was everybody wanted to boo him, and he gave him a reason, because they could always, the guys knew the cheap shot that he was a clown, because he was on TV and all that stuff, and and he would just eat it up.
Leaning into that natural charisma again, which is something that he's going to be able to absolutely leverage with a WWE style audience. So you've already made it pretty clear that of the comparisons to the luchadors that come to the American brands, you already think that he's more of an Eddie Guerrero than a Rey Mysterio or an Alberto Del Rio. But do you think that he could be a more transcendent persona than any of those three guys, and be somebody that is the bar set for the next generation of luchadors to come up?
I think the sky's the limit. You know, I think he's got as much to be as big of a star as any of the amazing talent they have right now, because they do, you know, all their luchadors they have in WWE right now are really incredible. You know, they're there for a reason. But he's got so many that's right. He's got a lot more TV than a lot of their young guys, because he's been on TV for a while.
Yeah, and that whole story about just his experience on TV before, I think to echo show very much of a sly heel, it still then will translate to probably a face run, you know, in WWE as well. One thing that I think could be a factor when audiences do come back is, it's one thing when the audience perceives him at home, but what a live audience may perceive him as and what they like about him in person, that could be where a shift happens and he moves into more of a face role.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he knows how to, you know, he knows how to work both of them. Down there in Mexico, he was also co-promoting a lot of the shows. So I remember one show that there was going to be a big deal. It was going to be Conan Big against Rush. And Conan Big, he was another TV guy. So he was on TV every night on that same show. And so he would fill up arenas on one of his character. It would be like if he got to go and see Jimmy Fallon or something. You know, just it's a big show. So I guess it'd be like if you went and saw Jimmy Fallon's sidekick, but he had a big enough audience. You know, short-tempered and, you know, doing funny bits. So he would fill up arenas. So when he would wrestle, what's that?
He's a rapper too, right? He's got a couple of rap albums out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did. I haven't tortured myself enough to try and listen to it.
That's fair. It's totally fair.
Yeah. So Conan Big. So what I'm trying to say is that he was so popular, Conan Big, that when he was on a card, it was kind of like when UFC books like Conor McGregor. They don't do like a huge card full of men that are amazing or full of talent, because they know everyone's going to buy it as one guy. So that match, I remember, it was Conan Big against Rush and like nobody else. Like lucha posters are like huge for having a ton of names, right? Being like an eye chart. And I remember that poster was just literally Conan Big and Rush, and it was like Conan Big versus Rush, like 5 more on that. And they didn't even say who. Well, there's a rumor that another local promotion paid for Rush, and so Rush doesn't show up. And it was like, what is gonna happen, you know? And it was a whole thing that day, because it was like, oh hey, there's rumors that Rush missed his flight, and there, you know, there were screenshots of Rush going back and forth with the promoter saying, hey, I'm stuck here. Or, hey, I don't think I'm gonna. And it was this big deal, and it was gonna be like, you know, because you know, big money loss if you've got one big match on a card, and all of a sudden, you know, it goes down. But I believe Garza was part of the team there, and so he ended up picking up, and it was him against Conan Big, and they went out and they went crazy, and they had a crazy match all through the whole arena, and he really tried to give the fans their money's worth. And he wasn't scheduled to wrestle, he wasn't on the card, you know, but he stepped up. And that was really, I thought that was really neat of him to kind of, you know, just take it all on him to, you know, give the fans something instead of just, you know, making everybody go home bummed out.
And that's back to that bag of tools you were talking about too, where I mean, he's able to step up last second and do a match that has everybody talking. I mean, you're still remembering it with obvious happy memories to this day. Do you think that there's more skills or talents for Garza that we haven't even seen yet in the American audience?
I think for sure, because he gets, you know, the luchadors get throttled so much that if they let him open up a little bit, right? Like Andrade is incredible talent, and you saw some a lot of it in NXT. If you go back into New Japan stuff or CMLL stuff, he's just incredible talent, and they throttle them so much. So, you know, so a guy like Garza also, you know, they have all this talent that if they let them kind of turn that on and, you know, just kind of go all out, you know, have these really incredible, like, hey, you and this guy, you know, you and your cousin, you know, Humberto Carrillo, hey, you guys go out and have a WrestleMania. You know, they could steal the show, because they've been wrestling and practicing forever. Forever. You know, that they know each other so well that if they went out there, they absolutely could, right? So there's a lot of layers to them.
So give us like 2 or 3 Garza matches that we should get on the internet and go see, so we can better understand him.
Yeah, for sure. So the one everybody should definitely see him unmasked, because that one's I think even if it's in Spanish, you just get it. Like, it's a reality show. It's it's basically the Bachelor. So you definitely want to see that one. And then you want to see him against Wagner, because Wagner's also from he's from Torreon. So he's often through, like, the only way you get from Torreon to or the best way to get from Torreon to anywhere is to go to Mexico, to Monterrey first. So Monterrey is like the hub first. So he's one of the guys. Him and LA Park are like the kings of the North. And so it ended up being Garza and Wagner being like the big rivalry. So there's this great cage match that people should go out of the way. And it's basically the Garza dynasty, the Wagner. And whoever is left loses their mask or loses their hair. And that's definitely the one. I believe the Conan Big match I mentioned is on there too.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, those are really good. And anything you can find from Crash, because that was when he was really coming into his own. So yeah, I would definitely go with the Garza one, the Garza against Wagner one, the mask versus mask in a cage. That was a big deal. Now I would go with anything of his in Crash.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've had you talking about Garza for a little bit here. We should remind people again, you are going to have your own podcast coming up soon. Do you have a name for that yet?
I do not have a name for you. I'm kind of recruiting people. See, it's going to be a video podcast, so I'm gonna link up to other lucha photographers and kind of do like a versus battle. Not really. We're gonna do like we're gonna pick a theme. So like I'm gonna do one coming up, and another person who shot Gauss, Camila Blanco, who's phenomenal. And so I'm gonna do one of the images that I did at my first Gauss show, and then she's gonna do one of hers. So I'm gonna talk about mine, then she's gonna talk about hers, and then kind of go back and forth. 5 of mine, 5 of hers, and then we'll talk about other stuff along the way, like where was the show, what do you remember about the crowd, any good stories, why'd you pick it, kind of any anecdotes from anything because there's always something that comes up, kind of something that happened backstage. So just kind of stories about shooting and kind of just having something to talk about. So it'll actually be a video, so people can see the photos. Because being a photography podcast, I thought it'd be odd to not have the visual element to it, like talking about photos when seeing them. So I wanted to add a video element.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear. And that's going to be on the Lucha Central Podcast Network, or are you going somewhere else with that?
Yeah. That'll be on the Lucha Central Podcast. Yeah, eventually I'll do the story of the time that Penta and Fenix coerced Garza's grandpa into slapping him backstage for a vignette, which was great.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. In the match, Garza turned on his cousin, and so the grandpa was backstage after, like, hey, what if your grandpa slapped you for turning on your cousin? And then Garza's like, no, that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. And then Penta and Fenix just like, slap him, slap, in Spanish, obviously. Like, gotcha, da, da. And they're just chanting, and the whole backstage is just chanting, slap him, slap him. So then they agree to it, and that's on YouTube too. Yeah, and the grandpa kind of admonishing Garza, and then all of a sudden, Garza's, like, disrespects Grandpa, and Grandpa just slaps him across the face.
That sounds amazing. And I know he has that respect there, because he was on Twitter talking about how his grandma is giving him trouble for feuding with Humberto right now. So
yeah.
Family dynamics in wrestling, and especially in Lucha Libre. What better? I can't think of anything better. Great. Well, and you mentioned your photography. Our listeners can go visit your website, gvdaphotography.com. You have a whole section dedicated to wrestling, and they're just fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's JVDA Photography. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, on my website if people want to go on and see some Yeah, pretty fun wrestling photos.
Some really good wrestling photos.
Shooting Lucha, and it was, the project of a lifetime. I knew I was going to be down there for a short movie, try to make the most out of it.
You definitely did. You got some great stuff while you were down there. So, I mean, you got great stuff all over the place, but I obviously gravitated towards your Lucha profile when I was looking at your stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this week on the Lucha Central podcast, Lucha Central Weekly podcast. Listeners can listen to Jerry's podcast soon. It will be part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network. Information will also be posted on luchacentral.com and all of the social once the episode airs. And as Jerry mentioned,
the phone cut out. I'm sorry.
Handles you mind sharing of your social medias?
So Miranda, you cut out for a second there, but it sounded like you were asking for the social medias.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so JVDA Photography on Facebook and Instagram. That's pretty much all I got.
That's great.
And awesome. The website. Yeah.
And the website, yes.
JVDAphotography.com.
Everyone go to the website. Check these photos out. They are worth it. They're phenomenal. And again, Jerry, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, your stories with us. You are always welcome to come back on the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. And, we can't wait to listen and watch yours when it debuts.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
He has some awesome stories about Angel Garza. So much that I had no idea about. So it was fantastic to get his insight about him, because we just really continue to see Angel Garza have such a strong hold on Monday Night Raw. And so I only foresee that continuing to grow.
Oh, me too. I think that like you said, the sky's the limit. The charisma and the potential is untapped on Garza and Andrade. And Garza's even better at English. I really think that it'll be, I think these guys are going to be big stars internationally very soon. I think that they're getting a prominent spot. The crowds are going to be able to see it as they start to come back, just as they kind of ascend, and it'll really be an exciting moment.
All right.
So I was going to say, I know, Dusty, you actually were going to lead us into some additional WWE news for this week, including what's happened this week on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown.
Let's just start chronologically SmackDown, because it's shorter. This past Friday the 19th, on Friday Night SmackDown, Lucha House Party had an amazing title match with New Day. I was so impressed with Lucha House Party in this match. They got in tons of offense. Lindsay started the match by getting a near pin on Kofi off of an amazing head scissor. He and Grand Metalik are really working together as a team. Metalik held the ropes, and Kofi tried to hit him. Metalik stood on Lindsay's shoulders to hit a splash. They double dived their opponents. They had double super kicks. They're really working together now. And I've touched on it, but obviously the lucha action was great in this match. Metalik hits an amazing springboard drop kick. Lindsay had a really impressive tope and a cartwheel stunner. These guys easily proved why they were given such a big opportunity. Unfortunately, though, they were ultimately unsuccessful, with New Day hitting a midnight hour diving deep finisher on Lindsay Dorado for the pinfall. I really loved this match, even though we didn't get to see the Lucha House Party win. It was really cool to see their style up against New Day's style, and to be able to see the artistry and everything that they do. Like they're another team headed for the top. And then go ahead, sorry.
No, keep going.
And then on Raw, this last 22nd was Championship Monday on WWE Monday Night Raw. So there were lots of short title matches. After the Street Profits Viking Raiders match, it ended with Montez Ford, and he hit one of the prettiest frog splashes I have ever seen for the win. I just wanted to mention that frog splash because it was so good. Okay. But afterwards, Andrade and Angel ran in on the Street Profits, like in their post-match celebration, and set themselves up as the next contender for the titles, which is kind of a breath of fresh air. Raw really needed a confident and legitimate competition from a heel tag team. Like, there's a lot of face tag teams, but not a lot of heel, much less like confident and capable heel tag. And so they're really going to be a breath of fresh air and add some badly needed depth to Raw. And in a promo afterwards, Zelina said that they've got their differences turned around into strengths, and now they're a united front going forward for the tag title. And we got some interesting chemistry between Charlie Caruso and Angel. So we've got a lot of story to see unfold in addition to some great matches ahead, I think. After that Frog Splash, I am really excited. Andrade and Angel versus the Street Profits. So I think that they're brushing up on their lucha to bring it to these guys.
That was a thing I definitely wanted to make a note of. So the Frog Splash is rooted in lucha. That is the originator of the move was Art Barr, and then Eddie started doing it when he came up after Art Barr had already passed as his tribute. So seeing that beautiful Frog Splash, I'm not going to take anything away from that, but I felt like that was definitely sending a clear message that we can play the game that you're playing too. And I really and to your point about adding a strong heel team, that's been the whole feud at the top end of the Raw tag team division for weeks now, is two good guys doing a friendly competition. So it's definitely going to be a nice change of pace.
Celebrating in the ring, kind of hugging the ring together.
Yeah.
See a real heel tag team. Go ahead,
Miranda. You became more interested of them, all four of them, instead of an actual competition against each other. So I think that literally jumped the shark with the ninjas come to play. So now you have a tone of seriousness with Angel and Andrade working together. And also, I mean, we've been talking about it every week about the dissension between this team and how it's impacting the stable and Zelina. And it did seem like it really she put the pieces together to get this to happen as well. She saw an opportunity and was able to unite both men together. So I'd also think the way that it seemed that she really played her cards right and shows how incredibly smart that she used to be as a manager.
That's the thing that I love the most, is that she gets to come off, instead of looking like a Weasley opportunist, she looks like she is someone who is constantly on top of this and making strong moves to both keep the team together and focused, and that she's always finding a way to be in charge and ahead of the action. And even though she seems to not have an appreciation for Charlie Caruso.
She does not care for Charlie at all. But you know what? I mean, going back to it about his presence on television, I mean, at first it was a little hokey, but now you can kind of see this progression with Charlie just being more drawn to him. Yeah. And I like that it's a storyline that they have continued throughout the past few weeks. And you can see that it's starting to, she's starting to approach him more, starting to seek him more. I'm very curious as to how this is also going to end because, honey, like we all know what happens when you fall in love with a luchador, just heartbreak. I just
especially one
the
who
heartbreak
calls himself a Lothario. Like, I mean, you can't.
Oh, mijita. I just already feel like this is not going to end well. But I'm going to watch this thing. I just can't help but watch.
So good. Like I say, I really think the sky's the limit for these guys. And I think they are the perfect two guys to help elevate the Raw tag team division in general. AEW's tag team division is really deep. They take it really seriously. WWE just kind of, as a matter of practice, hasn't taken tag team wrestling quite as seriously. But I think in order to compete, they may have to. And I think these guys are the team to help them compete. I mean, we've all touched on it, but the things they can do, and if they would just let them go and do whatever they want, here's 20 minutes, here's your match, do whatever you want, but get these story points across in the match. I think they could do things nobody's ever seen. I think it could be a game changer and make them more of they're already a success, but like an overnight difference, kind of like how Stone Cold Steve Austin changed after he cut the promo at King of the Ring, the Austin 316 promo. Yeah. I think these guys are one promo away from superstardom.
I definitely think that anybody from that faction, Zelina included, is just one big moment away from being a generation-defining superstar.
Yes, that's a great way to phrase it. It's more talent than we've seen in a faction in a long time because there's no weak spots. There's no, this guy's here to take the pin, or this guy's here to, be the muscle. I mean, they cover every base, both of them perfect. And so together, I'm really excited. This is going to be my favorite thing going forward on Raw. And speaking of what else we had on Raw, we got to see more with Seth and Rey Mysterio this week. Almost immediately after the interview with Zelina and Andrade and Angel, we got a shot of Seth Rollins backstage with his goons, Murphy and Theory. I don't know if they have their own faction or team name, but I'm naming them now. They're the Goons. He had a pretty great promo about how he didn't have any more choice to be the Monday Night Messiah than Ray had the choice to be a sacrifice, that they were just living out their destiny. And since Ray wouldn't accept his role in this and involved his son, that he was going to have to suffer. And then Seth ended it with legends never die, but they can sure as hell outlive their welcome. Amazing, wow. But definitely the kind of aggression that requires Ray to respond, because these are clearly fighting words. Mm-hmm. And Ray and Dominic entered later for the main event, and Ray said that even though Dominic is clearly bigger than him, he's still his dad, and Dominic will always be his son, and he was going to fight for both Dominic and himself by getting revenge on Seth. And he needed the revenge, but he also needed to do it himself because it was his fight. But then Dominic told him that he understood the decision, but that he wasn't going anywhere because they're family. And if Seth wanted to fight, he was getting a family. So Seth comes out then, and he says they've really put him in a difficult position. He wants to hurt Ray, but maybe it would be more painful to make him watch when he hurts Dominic instead. Threatens to take his eye too, talks about how two eyes are better than one. And so he starts to advance to the ring, and then we get our surprise. Humberto Carrillo and Aleister Black showed up out of nowhere to assist and kind of change the numbers handicap. Carrillo hit an especially impressive dive on Murphy and Theory during the confrontation. Ray hit a 619 to Rollins on the outside, and then he and Dominic had this amazing moment where they tried to put Seth's eye out on the steps to avenge his own eye, but the Goons were able to save them after taking out Black and Carrillo. And they held Ray down while Seth tried to put Dominic's eye out on the steps. But Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo then came back like a surprise. You saw them running up with chairs, and they chased Seth, Murphy, and Theory off, and the show ends. I cannot stress how good this segment is and how exciting and tension-filled these moments. I mean, this was such a good segment. That
segment saved Raw for me. I was not enjoying the show that much until that happened, and all I could say was good things about the whole show.
It's so good. This is some of the strongest Lucha content we've gotten in a long time, but this is also some of the strongest story content we've seen on Raw in a long time.
100%. And I want to say that I truly believe that this has been a benefit of the empty arena era. It's not even an era yet. It may be, maybe years, who knows? Feels like it. But I do feel like because of the fact that, when you have fans who may not get a story or may not be thrilled with the way a story is rolling out or may not even be interested in it, it takes away from the storytelling. And the fact that you've been able to tell the story week after week through these interviews, through in-ring promos, through backstage promos, through, all these different forms of storytelling, I think it's really helped this grow. And you can just continue to see, Seth really playing this Messiah gimmick, playing on the family dynamic, Dominic continuing to get angrier and angrier every week, Ray starting to get even angry. And maybe that's part of Seth's plot, is to get Ray so angry that he ends up making a mistake. But the fact that we can even share all of these twists within the plot is really well done job with WWE and the way that this story has been told and how it's been developed. And absolutely right with the lucha content, but also with the story content as well. I think it's one of the better stories that they've told of the entire year.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
It's definitely, even in the previous year, is one of the better stories. And I once again, I have on my notes here, I once again need to hand down praise to Dominic. Much as we were talking about how Angel Garza is being in front of a camera, it is very obvious to me that he has put a lot of effort into performing in front of a camera, because Ray elevated his game a little bit with this one. You could see levels of emotion and you could see anger and frustration, but Dominic was consistent and really good in that promo spot.
He's been excellent and progressing every week. Like every week, light years ahead of where he was last. And I can't believe how fast he's picking it up and how if you look at him at the when he was with when they had the feud with Brock Lesnar and Tyson Fury and everything, and you look at him now, it's a dominant.
Yeah.
He's so confident, self-assured, and his promo, he's an amazing talker. The way he talks is really advanced now. And, I'm just super impressed.
And his physical body telling too, just all of that. Like you could see just him, even when Ray was talking, you could see him going through the emotion of being being put in place by his dad. And then you could see when he came back out of it and was like, no, I'm a grown man and this is a family thing. I'm going to take care of business. You could see that change. You'd see it take over him. And I just appreciated all of that.
Yeah. Just looking at the numbers side and Dominic kind of stepping up, do you think that there's going to be like a trios match between Seth, Murphy, and Theory against Dominic, Black, and Carrillo, like that he kind of steps in for Ray with Ray having the injured eye? Or do you think that Seth and Murphy and Theory might add somebody to even up the numbers and Ray would be involved?
Okay, so this gets harder to do because
right.
we're going to wind up losing some talent then for at least 14 days. So the next couple of tapings are going to be a little awkward on that. I think that's exactly what they wanted to do, was have the younger guys doing a six-man tag match.
And it would be Dominic's first official match in that case, which would be a great debut. And you would have those guys to help kind of balance out any deficits he might have.
Yeah. We got the graphic for NXT. We'll get to that, doing the Great American Bash. So I know that Raw is going to do something big in the next couple of weeks. And so whatever their version of it is, I'm fully expecting that's where we're supposed to be seeing that match.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting.
Okay. I was going to say that it's a lot to still also take in. Even just that could possibly happen. I think that's one thing that also keeps this particular story interesting.
I agree. Sorry, go ahead, Brendan.
No, go ahead, Dustin.
I think the story is really fresh, interesting. I think the younger guys being involved is interesting. I think the fact that we just don't know what might happen going forward is interesting. Typically, when WWE has their back to the wall, they come out with some amazing stuff, like when they're painted into a corner. And so I'm kind of excited to see what could come of this. And I wonder if it'll lead to Ray and Dominic as a tag team for a while, or if Dominic will kind of be treated as his own entity. What do you think, Brendan, for that?
I think you're going to get both. I think they're going to be a faction. We're going to have the Mysterio faction for a while, which means we'll get...
that'd be cool.
Very, and at this point, that might even include Humberto and Alistair. So, we might get any combination of those four people doing matches, singles matches, tags, trios, whatever happens. So I think that's going to be the program for a little bit.
Well, the results for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown are available on luchacentral.com. You can always check them out there. But now, let's kick it off to Denise Salcedo with this week's Lucha Central.
Count to 5 out loud so he...
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a look at all of the great shows available this week on the Lucha Central Podcast Network. Monday, it's the return of the Business of the Business podcast, and Master Republic President Kevin Kleinrock sits down with groundbreaking wrestler and merch game changer Colt Cabana to talk about how he's consistently reinventing his own merchandising game, helping found the #1 disruptor in pro wrestling merch history, Pro Wrestling Tees, and much more. Tuesday, it's Mass, Mats, and Mayhem, the show that brings you back into and behind the scenes of Lucha Underground. This week, the show tackles the epic Season 1 ladder match and more. Also, on Tuesday, Wrestle Boss with Fabi Chulo, live
covering pro wrestling and MMA from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific. This week's guests include Brujeria bassist and wrestling commentator Pat Hood, a.k.a. Larry Rivera, and UFC fighter Gustavo Lopez. Head to luchacentral.com to listen live or download it Wednesday across podcast platforms. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. This week, CMLL photographer Alexis Salazar will be stopping by to talk lucha dynasties, the media, and more. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco. First, if you missed last week's interview with AEW star Jungle Boy Jack Perry, you owe it to yourself to go back and listen to it now. This week, the Lucha Homies pull up to the podcast to talk Lucha Libre training, Wrestling Society X, Lucha Underground, and more. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. This week, both shows dive into the question of if Vince McMahon's comparing of Angel Garza to Eddie Guerrero is going to be a good or a bad thing. The empty arena lucha shows that have taken place in the last week and more. Be sure to subscribe and follow all of your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms. And please be sure to give a rating and review to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
And that was Denise Salcedo with the Lucha Central. This week we had a lot of news and in-ring content to address with AEW. Brendan, can you tell us more?
Absolutely. We started off, I remember, in our planning sessions thinking, we may not get a lot of AEW content because I was looking at what they had listed on what was happening, but then I believe you were the first one to notice of the crew that Pentagon had checked in at Florida.
Yeah, he posted a photo, yeah.
Sorpresa.
So I watched AEW with a little more expectation, or I watched Dynamite with a little more expectation. Before that, we had Dark, and we had Serpentico and Luther and Max Caster in a match against Jurassic Express. So you have the Lucha Snake and the Luchasaurus facing off in that a couple of times. So if you once again, Dark is your AEW show for tons of lucha content here. That was a great match to watch, and Serpentico is always a unexpected pleasure. I shouldn't say unexpected anymore since I expect it. I tune in for him now.
So cool,
but
yeah,
I love seeing him on Dark. The takeaway from that match was kind of cool, and it played into the opening match on Dynamite too, where Max Caster kind of gets left in the ring for the Jurassic Express to handle while they just kind of wandered. Him and Luther wander away, and then on Dynamite they're hanging out together during the Lumberjack match. And Serpentico was always a little mysterious on Twitter. But he just the whole time the Dark episode was playing, he just kept doing one-word tweets that said Luther with like a snake emoji. So I think he's trying to hint that there might be a faction building here.
I'm not mad at that at all.
No.
Me either. So back to Dynamite. I spoiled the headline on there, but I think everybody at this point is excited by that. We got the Lucha Brothers back on Dynamite, and oh my goodness, that was amazing. We had you had a big build up. This is the end of the show. I'm starting at the end of the show because that's the biggest news. There's other fun things that happen, but this was our main event, and the first thing that just really, if you look at my notes, somewhere in the past I mentioned 6 exclamation points. I've got Lucha Brothers are back with at least 2 exclamation points on my notes.
So exciting to see Pentagon and Fenix. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they did a nice dramatic build for it. They had a really good, for fans of tag team wrestling, there was an amazing tag team match with FDR and and there was a lot of back and forth going on there. It was good, classic tag team stuff. I noticed the tag ropes being used a lot, which is a thing that I always love to joke about in indie wrestling, that some indie promotions don't even put the ropes out. They'll have tag team matches as their main event, no ropes. It just always amuses me. So you had that great match, and then afterwards you had the Butcher and the Blade confronting FTR, saying that they would like to have an 8-person tag match with the Butcher and the Blade and their tag team versus FTR and the Young Bucks. And so good. They introduced their team as being fearless, while the camera angle was already giving away that the Lucha Brothers were standing in the ring. And I don't think it hurt it at all. I think that just added to it.
Yeah.
So there we are. The Lucha Brothers are back. We will probably bring them in lots of stuff in the next couple of weeks, but they have announced that 8-man tag match is official, and that's our big takeaway. Also on that night, you had Matt Hardy versus Santana, and that previously had been for Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. We've been talking about the build on that, and the two of them kind of having a feud that was building. But Sammy has been suspended for an indefinite period of time because of some insensitive things he said a few years ago on a podcast. And the AEW's official statement is that they will be donating his salary to women's charity while he is suspended, and he has to take mandatory sensitivity training. So I was pleased that we got to see another Lucha person step up for that match instead of just forgetting about the story. But it did definitely add a different feel to it.
Yeah, and I think it only confirms what we talked last week about Santana and Ortiz just being consistent performers. Their presence in AEW has been not only, like I mentioned, consistent, it's been entertaining. They had a really entertaining, fun match. But those are two guys it seems the company can count on for multiple avenues, not just in tag team wrestling, but also as part of the inner circle. So I think it only just confirms what we talked about last week.
Yeah, it absolutely shows that they're that value that they've got. And I mean, beyond pleased, like I said, with that choice of replacement. I should also once again go back a little bit. I alluded to the lumberjack match. But all the way buried here is that was a Luchasaurus lumberjack match, Luchasaurus and Wardlow.
Mm-hmm. This was a fun match.
It was a fun match, and that's where you saw Serpentico and Luther hanging out for a little bit, and you had, again, you have more Luchasaurus content, and he's got Lucha in his name, and he's a dinosaur. So if you're listening to this, you probably should be watching.
It's so fun to see these big guys too, because in Lucha, not to stereotype, but in Lucha, a lot of times you don't get to see the giant. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool to see the two giants up against each other, and one of them be a luchador, and the way they work together. And I thought that was really cool for this match, and just unusual. Part of what makes Luchasaurus so special is size. But to see his fluid grace in this match was really exciting.
Yeah, it was a very good match. I don't want to shortchange any of the other ones. The Matt Hardy Santana match, I think we had said most of the things we needed to say on that. I enjoyed the heck out of that, but very different energy from Luchasaurus and Wardlow here, where again you had the big men, you had the lumberjack stuff, which also got to showcase other members of the Jurassic Express doing insane. There's a reason that Marco's last name is Stunt. I'm just leave that. Miranda, did you have thoughts on either of those matches?
Overall, I thought they were pretty fun. I'm overall very entertained by AEW as a product. So I didn't really have anything negative in particular. I was just trying to enjoy. I thought they were both really fun matches.
Okay. I wanted to make sure, especially with the Santana match, that I was not cut it off too early.
I always appreciate it. Like I said, I mentioned just I think they just have that presence and being able to slot Santana in at kind of a short notice. If anything, it means that the company believes in both of them as not only tag teams but singles competitors. So good for them.
Yeah, no, and maybe we'll get to see a little more singles run now with Sammy taking a little bit of a vacation.
That's what they're going to call it, I guess.
Well, that's what I'm calling it.
That's what I'm calling it.
Again, the official word is that they will reevaluate his status when he's done. But the general vibe I'm getting is because this was something that was said 4 years ago, and he has apologized to it. Sasha Banks has responded to it and said that, well, he needs to do work. Generally okay with the steps he's taking and the fact that he apologized. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's a very strong chance we'll see more of Sammy, who has a very promising future if he can keep his head on straight and not get kind of stuck in a bad place.
And we talked about this just offline between all of us, that each company, each wrestling promotion, each wrestling company is handling these situations in their own way. They're taking different steps and approaches to the speaking out movement. So that's also something I think that I think everyone just should be aware of, that how one company decides to handle the situation, another company will handle it differently.
As we're going to talk about repeatedly tonight, there's a lot of rapidly evolving situations that has happened in wrestling this week, and it's not all related to COVID.
Yes. Agreed. Dusty has a quick update for us on this week from NXT.
Yes. I'm going to start with the second of our Lucha matches first. Former AAA star Kevin Cross, now Karrion Kross, was in a great match, honestly, for what it was, against Thick Boy Bronson Reed. It was a quick but amazing and hard-hitting match. Bronson Reed tried to get in some offense, but Karrion Kross refused, and he turned it around every time. The most notable moment was Karrion Kross hits one of the best Northern Light suplexes I've ever seen. Taya Valkyrie has the best one, but outside of hers, this was, as good as it gets on TV.
You should feel honored you said that.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. She has the best Northern Light suplex in all of wrestling, 100%. I'll die on that mountain. But after the Northern Light suplex, he hits a Doomsday Saito. And then finally forces Reed to submit to the cross jacket. Great, quick match. I highly recommend it. And then the earlier match in the evening that I want to talk a little bit more about was Jake Atlas versus Santos Escobar, the former Hijo del Fantasma. This was a non-title match, but you couldn't tell from the way Jake Atlas wrestled. He came out ridiculously strong, trying to get on the offense for headlocks, kicks, head scissors. He was trying to pull everything he had out of the arsenal. And then there was a commercial break, but after the commercial break, we see Santos Escobar in firm control. Flying elbows, huge kicks to chest, abdominal stretch, submission techniques. But after the stretch, Jake Atlas got his mojo back and hit some very strong punches and a lariato. Then he had an amazing standing moonsault, but he just couldn't get the pin on Santos Escobar. He even tried to hit a moonsault from the top rope, but he took out Joaquin and Raul, the Legado de la Fantasma. And then once they were back in the ring, Escobar hit a big phantom driver and wins the match. You should seek this one out. It was fantastic. 5 stars.
I see what you did there.
I liked it. Yeah, it was a fun match, and their entrance, the presence, the music, the lights, like
so good.
It's really a total package that I'm absolutely seeing with El Legado del Fantasma. Like it is a very cohesive vision.
And Fantasma's new gear is just adding to that. Like it.
Oh my gosh,
so good.
So good. Yeah. I thought it was a mistake to remove the mask at first, but I should have known he had something so good planned that it would be worth it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys that can work with or without the mask so well. So I was not afraid when they took it off of him, but I didn't know that it was going to immediately look this good. So.
Oh, and his facial expressions, the things that you couldn't have got across under the mask, like whenever Atlas could get some offense in, he would look so mad. I mean, like just the look on his face, perfect. And like this expression, I mean, holy cow, there's no way to keep that guy under a mask now. Like the psychology of his movements and his everything he did was just perfect. It was like a hunter finding his prey.
Yeah, back to that. I don't know what you could be referencing there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we got to see some of his finest work to date. I wish it had been a longer match. I can't wait to see kind of what happens. We had a challenge from Swerve Scott. I'm really looking forward to that match. It's going to be quite exciting. So I think another one of those guys with the sky is the limit. If they let him do everything he's capable of, we're going to see things we've never seen before.
Yeah, very exciting time. Very exciting time in NXT. Continues to have good quality shows, but especially for the now Santos Escobar, this is a perfect place for him on WWE.
I would not have thought at the beginning of this year that WWE would have some of the best American-based lucha product that I could find.
Correct. That would. I mean, there's so many things at the beginning of this year that we wouldn't have imagined, and there's still more. Like, there's literally more. There's more. Like, there's more even in this show that we to get to that we did not think was going to happen at the beginning of this year. But yet,
at the beginning of the show.
At the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
We just have to gain.
We
just have to get into it. Brendan literally talked about the evolving world of pro wrestling, and as he said that sentence, the world evolved. Brendan has some updates for us on Impact Wrestling, which is going through a lot of changes over the past.
Oh, well, it's funny because I was actually going to ask you for a lot of the information on this. I was just going to set this up and bring it back to you.
Yeah, you could set it back up to me. Yeah, absolutely. You could set it back up to me. You could tee it back. You do a little bit of badminton about it.
Volley it back and forth.
Yeah, volley back and forth.
So you're the one that just literally just came into our side chat and gave us the breaking news. So let's start with that right there. Just what did you have?
Well, this was announced by Impact Wrestling. They just confirmed to multiple wrestling sources out there that they have stripped Tessa Blanchard of the Impact World Championship, and they have terminated her contract. This is after not seeing Tessa for several months now. She has been in Mexico where she resides with Daga, and there was some issues with being able to come back into the U.S., and they had been setting up a 5-way match for the World Championship for Slammiversary. Full details are still being released. However, it's just been confirmed literally just minutes ago that Impact Wrestling has terminated their relationship with Tessa Blanchard, and they have stripped her of the Impact World Championship.
This is kind of an unprecedented move so far.
Well, yes, and this is on top of other actions they've taken earlier in the week against other performers. Do you have the list on that, Miranda?
Yes, I do. So you're absolutely right. On top of this move by Impact Wrestling, they've also took strides earlier this week and fired 2 of the performers on their active roster, Joey Ryan and Dave Christ. These were individuals who were named during the Speaking Out movement that has really hit social media over the past week. And because of the allegations set forth, Impact Wrestling has terminated their contracts as well. They have also suspended Michael Elgin. He was also listed in the Speaking Out movement, and there's been allegations against him for a few years now. So it is somewhat speculated that the reason why he is suspended and while the others were fired was that Impact Wrestling may have known about some of these previous allegations before when they hired him. Many of the allegations against him started in 2017, and he just started with Impact, I believe, last year in 2019. So that's just some of the speculation regarding why he was suspended and the other two were let go. But that really required Impact to change a lot of their Tuesday show. The announcement of Joey and David being fired and Michael being suspended was on Monday, and they had a show on Tuesday. So they had to do some rewriting. Joey and David were supposed to be on a three-man tag match that day during that show, and that was of course scrapped. And Michael Elgin, he was part of the five-way that is slated for Slammiversary. They did not reveal as to when Michael Elgin was going to return. They didn't have a definite return date for him or if he was going to return. So that still leaves the entire that whole main event in jeopardy. We're going to absolutely have to wait and see what happens with that, because you lost two pretty key members of that main event, and now you have a vacant world championship at Impact. So there's an unlimited amount of things they can decide to do. And they'd already been building Slammiversary as something unique because of the elements of a lot of WWE talent being released who was going to show up. And there's also been a lot of key things throughout the past few shows playing a lot on TNA history. So we don't know if we'll even have any just general TNA past legends come and show up at Slammiversary.
They actually couldn't have planned this better to have so much of an air of expectation going into this. So, I mean, I do not want to make any light of the situation that created the release of any of these wrestlers, but they are handling it in a way that is beneficial to their brand and beneficial to the wrestling community, allowing people to have more of an opportunity that are not being people that have not been involved in some of the terrible undercurrent of things that happen in wrestling culture. So I'm very excited to see how that pay-per-view shapes up. Or is it still going to be a pay-per-view?
Yes, it is a pay-per-view. It is scheduled to be on July 18th on pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view.
Yes. Or you can get it through Impact Plus, their app as well. Announced for Slammiversary, actually, we do have confirmed the current X Division champion and former Lucha Central Weekly podcast guest, Willie Mack, will be facing Chris Bay for the X Division championship. He will be defending his title against Chris Bay. That was confirmed earlier today. After this week, Willie Mack was in a three-man tag with the Deaners. Chris Bay was with Johnny Swinger himself and Raju Rohit. And Chris Bay got the pin on Willie Mack. So we've been seeing this continuance of that X Division storyline for over a month now. And it's going to continue on into Slammiversary. And we also had Taya wrestle this week against Susie, also known as Su Yung. Taya, that match, a fantastic match. It was actually one of the longer matches on the show, which is a little bit surprising. But again, one thing that Impact Wrestling has done fairly well is the setup of their women's division and the opportunities that they really do to showcase their women's division. Taya did win that match. But there was a run-in at the end by Kylie Ray saving me. So there could be a Kylie Ray Taya Valkyrie match coming up in the near future.
I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Of Kylie Ray, we've seen her at AEW, really popular throughout the independent scene. She seems to have found a good fit as a fairly strong face in Impact Wrestling. Right now, they don't have a lot of those. Outside of, I would say, Jordan Grace, and you have a lot of tweeners, but a strong face. And Kylie Ray, she's in a good spot right now. And I'm so excited to see a Kylie Ray Taya Valkyrie match. And they did plug-in Taya fashion line, and I just got my own another Taya shirt in. It's starting to become a bad habit of spending my money. But yes, I mean, speaking of what Brendan mentioned earlier, I mean, as the response that Impact has had against everything that's happened with the Speaking Out movement, again, every promotion, every company is handling it in the way that they deem best. What this also does in general is that it's going to shake up rosters and it's going to bring in opportunities for other people. Impact has been known as that company that does allow for people to get opportunities and have a showcase their talents, showcase their skills to a larger audience. Willie Mack being one of them. I mean, he is such a phenomenal wrestler, and we've seen that in Lucha Underground, but the fact that he gets to be in a wider audience with Impact Wrestling and now their X Division champion, I mean, it only shows that it's just the beginning for him.
Absolutely. And he did say that he's gonna I believe it was he's gonna help Chris Bay find his place while he was on the show.
That was an exclusive here too. He's told he's going to put Bay in his place. So we'll have to all watch and see. July 18th, Slammiversary on pay-per-view.
All righty.
And I think you'll be able to check luchacentral.com for more news on Tessa Blanchard and the evolving situation with Impact Wrestling.
As always, on luchacentral.com, we will be updating all the news. I can hear the gnomes working furiously on it right now. They definitely were making sure that we were up to date on that information, and I know that they're putting that up on the website. Speaking of luchacentral.com, if you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's time to do it. LuchaCentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. A place to have your voices heard, from weekly polls to annual awards, seen and read by top executives in all of the major Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of all of this, free, luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. And definitely check there frequently and often. The world of wrestling is changing at a breakneck pace right now, and it's
hour by hour. Yeah.
As we're showing, like, news happened while we were in the middle of recording. So by the time you hear this, some of this news will have been old hat to you, but it was shocking to us to hear it while we were doing our prep.
Very sure. Well, I mean, we're talking about the present, and now we got to talk a bit about the past. We have This Week in Lucha Libre History with Dusty.
Yes, now it's time for This Week in Lucha Libre History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for This Day in Lucha Libre by Pep Carrera. For more information and for videos. This week, I chose June the 28th, 2009. Rey Mysterio won the WWE Intercontinental Championship for the second time in his career after beating Y2J-era Chris Jericho in a very rare WWE Apuestas match, putting his mask up against Chris Jericho's Intercontinental Championship at WWE's The Bash pay-per-view at Arco Arena in Sacramento, California. The storyline to set this match up had Chris Jericho in the crowd wearing a Rey Mysterio mask, and he does that thing. He comes out and kind of puts his forehead to each of the kids with the mask. But the last kid was Chris Jericho, and he jumps out and attacks Rey. And then that builds up to a match, an Intercontinental title match at Extreme Rules, where Chris Jericho unmasks Rey and wins the title because Rey had to cover his face to keep in himself during the pin, to keep his face from being revealed. And I was a huge SmackDown fan in this period. And if you were too, you remember how hot and how real it was. It's one of my favorite feuds in all of wrestling. It's also a great primer for those who don't necessarily understand why the mask is a deal for luchadors. Jim Ross does a surprisingly great job explaining, explain it like a 5 years old version, but he explains why the mask is a big deal. And the match was full of hard-hitting action. Jericho was an amazing heel. I don't want to say he was at his best because I don't know that he's hit his best yet. He's always evolving like David Bowie did, but he was amazing. He was extremely physical in this match, using his size against Rey to his advantage, and also, again, trying to take advantage of Rey's mask. But Rey had studied up. In the previous two matches, Jericho countered the 619 into a shoulder breaker after an airplane spin, This time, Rey goes for the 619, and just like before, Jericho pitches Rey up high. But this time, Rey Mysterio had been educated by experience, and he hit a great swinging DDT. But it wasn't enough because Jericho kicked out. And then after some back and forth, Jericho finally gets a shot in. He tries to pull Rey's mask off again. But in a surprise, Rey had two masks on, a smaller, tighter mask under the original mask, and was able to take advantage of the surprise to hit the 619 and become the Intercontinental Champion for the second time in his career. You should really check this match out on the Lucha feed. I highly recommend. Brendan, which day in Lucha Libre history did you choose?
Do we have Brendan?
Okay,
do
you want to go?
Yeah, I'll jump in. You know, we watch the match, and I picked because of the framework of the match. I picked June 22nd, 2012. And then this is Type 1, the CMLL, and Busa. They essentially was a mix of a tournament, but it was voting from fans and points, and so it was a lot to process. But I thought overall the structure of it was very interesting. It was 2012 was the first time that they'd done this particular tournament. And so what it was is it was a points-based tournament in which you had 8 wrestlers total. They were all quote-unquote rookies. 4 technicals and 4 moves. Facing against each other. First was round robin, and then with the top 4 point earners competing in an elimination tournament. So it's something I'm still trying to process my head around. But in particular, I really like the way that this match started because you had a pure technical, a pure baby face versus a kind of a pure rudo with the. And Titan makes his way to the ring. Euforia interrupts, beats, gets into the ring, and it was real fast-paced, high-flying. But there was a really interesting visual with this match in particular, and that was the ripping of masks. Titan's mask got ripped during the match, and I don't think it didn't look like Euforia did it, but I could have been a little off on it. But eventually. Titan gets so upset with Euforia, he ends up ripping the top of his. So you have both men competing with ripped masks, and so just that visual itself was really, really interesting, and I just really liked that dynamic in the match and the storytelling that they did throughout the match. Winner of this match ended up earning some opportunities with CML. I believe they got to name in some particular shows, and it was just really a way to kind of showcase the next level of stars. And I thought, again, just the concept was really unique. They don't have the tournament as of now. I believe it ran from 2012 to 2015. It was a really fun match, but also just the set En Busca de un Ídolo tournament just really helped explain, too, the story behind why they were fighting so hard.
Yeah, that's incredible. The ripped masks thing is such a interesting storytelling move, too. And you know, obviously unique to Lucha Libre because of the masks, but it gives them another outlet. So unique, and I feel like it really tells a story. And especially when you see the masks afterwards that tell the story. It's really special to those.
And I was really the first time I saw other luchadors actually rip masks off. I know I've seen it in where they take the mask off, or especially if it's maybe a non-luchador. And like we were just talking too, the match earlier with Rey Mysterio and Jericho. I mean, that dynamic I had seen before. I really had the luchadors off. So I think it really added to that match. And again, just it was high flying, fast paced. You know, it was hard to. They were just all over the place by everything. And that video was part of second. The name there is a link to it that you can find.
Excellent. I'll have to check that match out.
We have one. Okay. We'll just keep on going to the final portions of this week's show. But before we do that, we have a quick commercial from one of our partners, thechairshot.com.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
And again, thank you to thechairshot.com, one of the partners of luchacentral.com, and all the information we've been telling you tonight, just what we talked about, the results from WWE and NXT, things happening in the world of Lucha Libre this week and Lucha Libre history. You can find all of that at luchacentral.com. Now, the final story for this week does play into some of the themes that we talked about just a little bit earlier with different wrestling promotions around the U.S. and around the world addressing the Speak Out movement. And one of these is a Texas-based promotion called Mission Pro Wrestling. Now, this is a promotion based out of Texas, and it is ran by none other than the current NWA Women's Champion, and, I mean, we just have to admit, a pretty big fan favorite of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast team, Thunder Rosa. She co-owns it with Mike and Jeremiah Wilkerson. They made an announcement earlier this week that the promotion Mission Pro Wrestling is going to be converted, ramped up if you would like. The company will be completely operated and, well, not completely owned, but completely operated and have a woman focus. So women for all the creative and booking positions and everything. Yes, female, of course, wrestlers, referees, ring crew, announcers, commentary. They said pretty much everyone that is, working with the promotion will be. And one of the other announcements they did make was that Robin, to the family, she is going to be the head of creative and booking. So they've already made some big strides with hiring Robin Reed, a really well-known independent wrestler, many years of experience, the head of creative booking. Also, having such involvement in it. I mean, not only does she actively wrestle, but she just has an incredibly creative mind for pro wrestling. So this has been one of the better stories of this week, and the company has stated they just want to make pro wrestling a better place for women's promotion. It just allows women to, just have a platform to share their experience and love of pro wrestling. What do you think about this of promotion changing gears and moving to be all female? I think it's really exciting. I think there's an extremely strong, women in Texas, like the women, Jordan Grace came from Texas, Kylie Ray, Alley Cat. All these people have gone through the Texas scene. Alex Gracia is coming up in the Texas scene. So I think it's a great spot. I think that there's so much strong talent right now. And we're kind of seeing a lot of indie places and little indie companies shuttering right now, not just necessarily due to COVID, but also because of speaking out. And so I think that it's a great time to start a promotion, and especially one that's so positive, women forward right now. I'm excited to see what they come up with. I think that they could make huge waves in the wrestling. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the fact that they're really trying to have a focus on other roles, not just female wrestlers, but commentators, referees. Aubrey Edwards and the platform that she's had on AEW really has shown a light. There's just a lot of referees getting more opportunities. But it's like an independent circuit to then kind of get the reps in so that you can elevate to the next level. So also, hopefully, not only does this help provide opportunities for female wrestlers, but all of those involved, commentators. There's not a lot of female commentators out there, and we've seen that they can be really fantastic and dynamic when it comes to helping provide storytelling and to the audience and to the show, and even just ring crew and even any role that could be filled, especially in the creative side too. I think that that's been an area where we just haven't seen a lot of women in booking and in creative roles. So to already have that ball rolling and to be a a very clear avenue for people to know that, yes, this is a place that does, really value women in very different roles, various roles in professional wrestling. Hopefully it's a good sign that we see other promotions take on. You mentioned some great people that are from the Texas circuit. Is there anyone that you would hope, whether it's in the Lucha Libre world or the NBA world, that you would come into wrestling?
Who I would like to see would be Lady Shawnee. I mean, she has an amazing moveset. She's got a great look. There's a ton of interesting mystery and aura around her because of the scarcity of masked female Lucha Libre talent, like on national American stage. And I'm thinking about her Apuestas match, Triple Mania 26, where she beat Baby Apache in that mask versus hair match. She's really unafraid against high-profile opponents and can easily hold her own in a high-pressure environment. And I think she would be such a bold and brave competitor for a new promotion in America. And I could be mistaken. I should have guessed, but it's my understanding that Lady Shawnee and Thunder Rosa never faced each other in a match before. And that's something that could be really exciting and interesting for Lucha fans.
Yes, I absolutely agree. One of my personal favorites right now, Manila. I really just like her look. I think that she, connects well with the audience. And I know that she's wrestled a lot in Florida. I know she, is Puerto Rican, so of course. I mean, I just have to throw one every show in there. But I mean, she also has a really good presence in AAA and wrestled around the U.S. as well. So just opportunity to bring someone with not only Lucha Libre experience, but just being able to have that team experience to bring that to a reformation for me is always, as a fan, I truly appreciate. But again, I mean, this is really, they're going to have their hands full with as many women that are going to really be drawn to a promotion like this. And I agree with you. I will look at this within me. This allows avenue for Lucha Libre to have booked. I mean, Miranda is very familiar with the Lucha Libre scene, has wrestled in it, knows it. And we talk about how a lot of these bigger companies do bring Lucha Libre to an American audience. This also could be a great way to bring Lucha Libre to an independent American audience, which sometimes can even be harder than on a bigger scale like AEW or WWE.
I agree. I think it would really be, if it does stay independent, it gives such a nice spot. There's still right now, it would be a great spot for the middle wrestling to come. And I'm sure Thunder Rosa has a lot of contacts there. Maybe kind of develop and get ready for the American audience before they're immediately on TV or forced to be at a national level. I think that, it could be a very important stepping stone to have, Lucha Libre talent in America, period. There's just not a whole lot of it right now. And the sky's the limit again with her promotion. If she chooses to go that way, there's so much talent that she could bring in that would really be exciting and fresh.
Well, we have made it to the end of another edition of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. Don't forget to follow luchacentral.com on social media. You can find Lucha Central on Facebook and Instagram at Lucha Central. And you can also find us on Twitter at luchacentral.com. And, of course, Lucha Central has lots of content on luchacentral.com, including links to the YouTube page that has interviews, matches, lots of cool things that you can spend your time watching. Dusty, let our listeners know where they can find you on.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Dusty Murphy. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/Dusty Murphy. If you do the search feature, there's a couple of Dusty Murphys, but as long as you find the one with the Caristico mask, you found the right guy.
There you go. And unfortunately, we lost Brendan earlier, but you can find him at 321 T-Shirt Guy, primarily on Twitter, Forte. So he's our Twitter guy at 321 T-Shirt Guy, and he is also on Instagram as well. Twitter is also still receiving any messages for me. So if you need to get in contact with me on Twitter, which I don't know why you would, but it's a service. I appreciate Brendan being letting me use his Twitter for that. Feel free to reach out and message or tweet at. That's what the kids say. I don't know.
Yeah,
tweet
Brendan
at 321 T-Shirt Guy. I, Miranda Morales, am on Facebook and Instagram at the #Miranda, spelled out. I am not on Twitter, ergo, that's why you can go T-shirt guy and message me. But let us know what you think of the show. Again, the show is available on all major streaming platforms for a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Podbase, Speaker. Please subscribe, rate, and let us know what you like about the show. Give us your feedback. Let us know about any topics you should cover in the future. We are Lucha Libre friends just like you, so we want to make sure that this show is something that you guys listen to, something that you find really valuable, not only for news, but analysis and opinions of Libre. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will be back next.
Respetable público, lucharán a 2 de 3 caídas sin límite de tiempo. En esta esquina, el Santo y el Cavernario. Y en la esquina opuesta, Lunemo y el Bullón. La arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción. La arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción. Y en el ring estaban los 4 rudos, ídolos de la afición. La arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción. Y en el ring estaban los 4 rudos, ídolos de la afición. El canto del cavernario, un demonio y el bulldog. El canto del cavernario, un demonio y el bulldog. Y la gente comenzaba a gritar, sirenas vestidas sin cesar. Métale la ritmo, métale la vuelta, la quebradora y el tirabuzón. Quítale el candado, pícale los ojos, jálalo del pelo, sácalo del ring. Métele la ritmo, métele la vuelta, la quebradora y el tirabuzón. Quítale el candado, pícale los ojos, jálalo del pelo y sácalo del ring. La arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción. La arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción. Y en el ring estaban los 4 rudos, ídolos de la afición. La arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción. Y en el ring estaban los 4 rudos, ídolos de la afición. El canto del cavernario, un demonio y el bulldog. El canto del cavernario, un demonio y el bulldog. Y la gente comenzaba a gritar, sirenas vestidas sin cesar. Métele la ritmo, métele la vuelta, la quebradora y el tirabuzón. Quítale el candado, pícale los ojos, jálalo del pelo, sácalo del ring. Métele la ritmo, métele la vuelta, la quebradora y el tirabuzón. Quítale el candado, pícale los ojos, jálalo del pelo y sácalo